Hello, everybody. You're watching another episode of Winston Walks. My name is Winston. Today we're walking in Toronto. We're walking along Yonge Street by the Lawrence area. This is Fairlawn Avenue, and it's kind of drizzling day. It's coming down a bit. You can see the weather. It's getting colder. It's kind of windy. So, forgive me, if I, just try to cover up a bit here, stay warm, but it's okay. If it starts to rain, we'll still talk a bit, and I want to actually talk about, in terms of the economics that I've been covering lately. What's happened is an interesting thing happened is that with I didn't catch this in my previous episodes, but Donald Trump recently essentially threatened. It's not assaulting done. It's most likely, obviously, a maneuvering tactic. But he has threatened on Canada to implement a 25% tariff. So with a tariff, essentially, as a Canadian company, we sell to the U.S. market because we're the biggest trading partner, or they're our biggest trading partner, and what happens is that the revenue, so the tariff gets added on. Essentially, it's a tax, but they keep it, right? It's not to us. So, really what it's done is it's done to hurt Canadian companies selling into that market, making them less competitive. Obviously, it does hurt the American consumer, but it's used obviously as a tactic for to leverage. In this case, Donald Trump is saying obviously the border is we have a wide open border with the U.S. and that we're not vetting our immigrants, and to be frank, he's probably right, and they're going through to their borders as well, but he's talked about doing that, and the reason I wanted to address it is that this kind of falls in with everything that it's starting to rain, so forgive me, folks. I'm gonna find some shelter, but I still want to talk. That's okay. And I'm gonna just stand right here. Actually, no, this is not a good idea. I'm looking for a better spot. It's very nice up here, by the way. This would be midtown Toronto. So you can tell it's not as crazy up here as downtown. Okay, I'm gonna stand underneath this passage here for now until the rain stops. But in terms of tariffs, so it's used obviously. So like I mentioned, it's a cost, in addition cost to the consumer. In this case, to be the American consumer. However, the revenue, so they lose sales, obviously, the Canadian company, and if you have a competitor that's a United States competitor, they're not going to have that tariff put on them. Thus, their product is cheaper. Thus, if you're a consumer, all things remaining equal, you're going to choose the U.S. competitor, right? So, did it stop? Oh no, it's still going. So, this is a way, obviously, to hurt the Canadian economy, and really it's probably obviously strategic because it couldn't come at a worse time, with all the things we've talked about with and also another thing, this definitely weakens the Canadian loonie even more than what we're all the other factors that we talked about. You know, so even this morning, I was watching the loonie overnight markets. It did take a dip. I mean, it didn't completely crash, but it's definitely not stronger. If you look at the actual chart of the loonie, it is just it's just a falling. It's just a slope, right? It's just a slope falling to the right. It's pretty ugly, compared to the United States dollar. But when you compare, and you create that mosaic, like I mentioned, you include all those other things. I think it's kind of stopped now. You included all those other things, all those other factors, that I talked about in terms of the Canadian economy, the inflation pressures. This just increases it even worse. So, again, with Canada, we're still spending. We don't have in terms of our budget, our finance minister won't reveal whether she's gone over budget, which every indication is showing that we most likely have. She's kind of come up with these explanations of the one thing that they talk about in terms of the economy is that and this happens with folks all over, I'm sure, but that the economy isn't bad, they say, but it's just that we feel that it's bad, right? So I think she's calling it a vibe session. So we've got negative vibes essentially, which is kind of silly in my opinion. Our per capita GDP has fallen, I think, 6 quarters in a row. It's not getting better. Businesses are failing here at a pretty high clip. Costs here are high. There's another controversy with young Canadians are having a hard time finding jobs because apparently I think there was a subsidy, being given to I think companies that they hire, like an immigrant work policy. You hire an immigrant, so there's controversy there because some businesses there are abusing that, but that hurts, young Canadians or even folks who are trying to find, just realistically, the I don't want to offend anybody, but the entry level job, let's say, and there's a lot of value in those jobs, right? Because number of folks need to work and need to eat and feed their families and themselves, but also with younger Canadians, it's a skill set that you learn, right? You've got to start somewhere. So there's a big controversy about that. And again, it's not the immigrants' fault. The system has put them in a really bad situation where you have now the policies that are supposed to be as they use it, the terms, inclusive and diverse, right? I find that they've created a lot of friction, separation. You kind of turn people, not liking someone else. It's actually a pretty scary situation. I will just say, and I know this is kind of rearing off the economics, but it's not, like I always mention, it's not the same Canada that I grew up with, where back when you just kind of got to know the person, and you decide if they're an asshole or not, right? Now there's a lot more people paint people by the brush. It's not good. It's not what I think is a valuable way to judge people, right? So, but anyways, in terms of back to the economics, So with this, with this tariff, even just the threat too. When you think about the threat of it, what this does is this actually brings a lot of uncertainty to Canadian companies, which will, frankly, they have to start, laying off people because they have to be, it's a probability case, right? Scenario, even though, I think it's a small chance that he is going to do the 25% tariff. But if he does, literally, for, especially small businesses that do a lot of cross-border business, literally, it's nail in the coffin for them, right? So, it's just horrible. So, again, when you think about these things, and then also, again, from a personal finance perspective, from an investment perspective, when you're investing, obviously, this is going to affect Canadian but also international portfolios, because he's vowed to do the 25% on Mexico. He wants to do another 10% on China, so I think 20% on China. So these are a lot of threats, right? But they do affect portfolios, so just keep that in mind. So I know everybody is revved up to go because supposedly he's going to cut taxes, cut regulation, and the markets are going to go to the moon, right? Not necessarily. I encourage people to look back at his first term. First 2 years were kind of bumpy in terms of the markets. He did kind of a lot of the same things. He did a lot of rattling with China. And he did hurt the Chinese economy, quite frankly. He did say what you want, but if you're American, he did make some of your industries a lot stronger, and he hurt the Chinese economy. And I think even to date, that's been the case. Frankly, though, I think he did in China. Though they have actually de-leveraged their system because they used to be so levered up to housing. Their system, and they've popped that bubble. It was painful. I think they kind of realized it with when Trump kind of took out their knees, and they realized that they couldn't just rely on such a narrow sector. So, I know he seems irrational, but sometimes there is some logic to his madness, right? I'm just saying, this is not a political channel. But, well, technically this is not actually even a business channel, but anyways. But I hope you understand what I'm saying, is that when you're investing, you have to take that emotion out of, whether you don't like the guy or not, but you got to look at his policies, right? Sometimes, as a politician you do like, and you may like him, but you have to look at his policies as well. Because, he is a spender as well. Just keep that in mind, right? So, generally, he is a spender, so it's not like inflation is going to be cut down. And I know people are talking about Elon and Vivek are going to be cutting expenditures, right, and balancing the budget and all these things. Don't be surprised if the marriage is great now, but down the line, if there is some hiccups in that, and possibly a breakup, because at the end of the day, Trump is the last one. His word is the one that counts, and a lot of strong personalities like Elon. He doesn't like listening to people. If there's a disagreement, and there's fundamentally things that I think Elon will be right on, but I don't think Trump will agree with. And Trump's word in the end will win. So just keep that in mind. It's getting busier now. Sorry, I'm just gonna cross here, just not get hit. Okay, great. And so far they haven't built that Bitcoin reserve yet. So just keep that in mind, folks. It's 100,000. think I'm going to do a video at some point about cryptocurrencies. I have traded them. I have held them in the past. They're tricky. They can be very profitable. You can lose a lot of money on them, right? Just keep that in mind. So, but anyways, in terms of Canada, we're in a bind now. We really gotta, you gotta assess your investments based on that factor. Canadian oil as well. You gotta watch. There's two prices. There is that. There's many prices for oil, but the U.S. Canadian oil, you gotta watch that because that may have a big problem going forward. Most people aren't invested specifically in that Canadian barrel, but maybe through companies, etc. So just keep that in mind. It's a tricky game, folks. Anyways, I'm gonna cut this one as I want to keep these bite-sized, and I'm getting really cold. Anyways, I want to thank you for watching and walking with me. My name is Winston. I take walks. I'm based in Toronto. If you're a prospective visitor, for something about moving here, or you just enjoy watching the videos, I hope you get something positive out of it. Thanks for walking with me, and I'll see you in the next walk. Bye-bye.